I got to protect the population. We need you to work with us. Please just go get tested.
Another call from the province's premier for farmers to get workers tested for COVID-19. This as a migrant testing center in Leamington closes up because of poor turnout, and all of it happening as cases among farm workers continue to climb.
If they truly want to do this, they have to do it right.
The public school board in Windsor, Essex makes a move to develop an anti-racism policy, a move one parent says is long overdue. Another sunny day in Windsor, Essex as we take a live look outside. 28 degrees right now, feeling like 31. A bit of wind and actually drummed up a dust devil in Chatham, Kent. We have some video that we'll show you tonight when Colette Kennedy joins us with the forecast. I'm Chris Ensing. Thanks for watching. We're now getting a better sense about how Mexico's ban on temporary foreign workers coming to Canada will affect farm operations in Essex County. For one major tomato and bean processor, it could be crippling, but they'll also be among the first to try something new to help stop the spread of COVID-19 in the agricultural sector. The CBC's Jason Vio continues to follow this story. He joins us now live in Kingsville. Jason, what have you learned about how this company is trying to address what some are calling a crisis?
Well, Chris, in the coming weeks here at Sunbright Foods in Kingsville, they say they will be among the first to bring in voluntary testing on site for their staff and their employees to test for COVID-19. And they say they'll be doing that in conjunction with the Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Affairs. But as of right now, they say they have no confirmed cases of COVID-19 at their facility here in Kingsville. Up until now, though, you'll remember mass testing has been done in Leamington. And they tested about 700 workers, including migrant workers there, but far from what they wanted to see because there are more than 8,000 migrant workers in Essex County alone. So because of that and the lack of demand, that assessment center today is the last day. It won't be operational beyond today. They say they can open back up again if there is that demand, but today is the last day for that. Now here at Sunbright, though, right now they have 17 temporary foreign workers, all of them from Mexico. Some of them just recently arrived, so they're in that 2-week window where they have to self-isolate. More are expected to arrive next month, many more, but again, that's up in the air because of the ban that's been put in place by the Mexican government in terms of workers coming to Canada. But most of the workforce right now, Chris, is the local workforce, 140 workers. But when it comes to those migrant workers, they say that those that are here and those that are coming, they're strongly recommending that they stay on the premise when it comes to working the bunkhouses. They don't want them going outside of the premise at all, and they say that's to curb the spread of COVID-19.
We can control what we have within our control. So if they're within our say boundaries of our bunkhouses and our plant, then we know, we're confident that their exposure is minimum, if not zero. Once you, let's say, take that away and you leave it to them whether they want to leave and come back, that's where you're rolling the dice.
And the company says they'll be providing food and necessities within these boundaries so that the workers don't have any need to go out into the community to different stores, to grocery stores, for example. Chris.
Now, Jason, you said that they are expecting more workers. Can you give us a sense of how much this company relies on migrant workers who are coming from Mexico?
Well, those who run Sunbright Foods here in Kingsville say that they're pretty concerned about what they're hearing. They say it would be crippling to their operation because they rely so much on those migrant workers once the harvest season really begins in August. Now, the company here cans tomatoes, sauces, and beans as well, and under the brand Primo and Unico. And to give you a sense of how large the company is beyond those brands, which are quite well known, they also supply sauce to Domino's Pizza right across the country as well. So again, the harvest season starts in August, runs until October, and that's when those migrant workers are really needed, and they're expected to arrive as early as next month. That's the plan. 170 of them they're hoping to see.
We would definitely not be able to run. We cannot hire locals, enough locals to actually run for the season. That's why we rely on the migrant workers to come in and do the jobs that no Canadian is willing to do. The real consequence would be no tomatoes in cans. It would be the farmers would not have Their fields would have to be turned under. We would have no products for next year, and we would rely on outside tomatoes for the Canadian market.
Now, so far, about 343 migrant workers right here in Windsor, Essex have tested positive for COVID-19. And the Mexican government says in order to lift that ban that they've put in place, they want answers on some of that and also guarantees on what's being done to prevent even more migrant workers from contracting the coronavirus. Chris.
Thanks for this, Jason. The CBC's Jason Vio live tonight in Kingsville. Now, we do have some clarity on what's happening with temporary foreign workers and Mexico. So on Monday, Mexico's ambassador to Canada said that they would be pausing the temporary foreign workers program, not sending workers until they get answers about the 2 migrant workers who died in Essex County. I just got off the phone with the Canadian Federation of Agriculture. They confirmed that Mexico will not send any workers to farms that have an active outbreak of COVID-19. In Essex County, there's 8 workplaces in the agricultural sector that are dealing with an active outbreak. That's according to the Windsor and Essex County Health Unit. The medical officer of health says that they're being proactive on farms that have confirmed cases. Today, 14 new cases of COVID-19 were announced in our region, with 6 of them among farm workers.
I just want to be clear that the farms that have active cases, we are going in and we are doing the testing, and if it's needed, that we can mandate testing because of the risk of potential spread and exposure. So that's something easy that we can do because we have an established risk that we can use. Because otherwise, mandatory testing is not mandated anywhere in Canada. And even though if it needs to happen, I think it's a much bigger conversation and has to be part of the broader testing strategy that has been rolled out by the province.
Now, Dr. Ahmed says that long-term care homes, that test, they were all done with consent. But he says organizations could require staff to be tested if that was in their policy. Premier Ford also spoke today about the challenges around getting migrant workers tested, especially after the Erie Shores Healthcare testing center was closed. It only opened last week. But now, when asked about mandating testing, Ford said that you can't force anyone to get tested, but he is asking for cooperation.
I'll do anything. I'll send buses. We'll send mobile units, but if we send mobile units to every single farm, it's going to take 80 days. If we can get these workers in and get tested, but no one showed up, so the hospital closed it down. Please, to the farmers and the workers, I understand the reluctance. In some cases, they're worried, they're scared, the workers. There's no reason to be scared. Just please get tested. I can't stress it enough. I don't know what more I can do outside of going there, and I can't force anyone. But there's a reason why they aren't sending their workers, and the workers aren't showing up. It's just not fair to the rest of the population. That's how I can phrase it. I got to protect the population. We need you to work with us.
Ontario's pandemic state of emergency has been extended until the end of the month. But for the 4th day in a row, the province is reporting fewer than 200 new cases of COVID-19. We turn now to a privacy breach at the Chatham-Kent Health Alliance. The hospital says that an employee accessed a number of patient health records without a valid reason to do so.
It's important to know that this breach was essentially what we would call a random snooping, and that no information was actually pulled from the records, printed, or shared with other individuals. So it really was an employee who was looking at individual electronic health records.
An investigation was launched into this random snooping, and it was found that the employee accessed the records of about 40 patients. Notification letters have been sent to anyone who was affected. A new electronic record system is coming in the fall, which the hospital says would strengthen their ability to protect the privacy and confidentiality of patients. As for the employee involved, they are no longer with the hospital. Meanwhile, in Sarnia, they're dismantling a field hospital that was never used. The 150-bed facility was set up 2 months ago for an overflow of potential COVID-19 patients, but that never came. Blue Water health officials say that the non-clinical equipment is owned by the city and being stored for any future pandemic use. Sarnia-Lambton's COVID numbers have been low enough that on Monday, the province gave that area the green light to move ahead with phase 2 of reopening. Experts at the Hospital for Sick Children in Toronto are calling on the province to reopen Ontario's schools in September. The hospital releasing a document today with recommendations for reopening. They include increased protocols around hand hygiene and physical distancing, including separating desks and avoiding large gatherings. The document is also calling for symptomatic students to stay home and get tested for COVID-19. Researchers at Sick Kids have been studying the impact of the pandemic on children. They believe keeping schools closed will have too great an impact on their physical and mental health.
A growing body of research tells us that a significant proportion of children have experienced increased depression, anxiety, irritability, and seem less able to buffer day-to-day frustration.
I think we are now at a point where we know it's going to be around for a long time, and the alternative of having children not in school for months and potentially a year or two are just untenable.
The Ford government says later this month it will announce its plan for reopening schools in September. It also says it continues to prepare for a number of different scenarios. The Greater Essex County District School Board is working to craft a policy aimed at tackling racism, specifically to support students who identify as Black, Indigenous, and people of color. It's expected to be developed throughout the remainder of the year. Current policies at the school board focus on creating a safe and inclusive environment for staff and students, but until now, there's been nothing that deals directly with racism.
Especially in light of everything happening in the world right now, our current climate. I noticed that we didn't have any policy specifically to do with anti-Black racism. The call in this moment is to really make sure that we are doing all that we can and doing our due diligence to support students who self-identify as Black, Indigenous, and people of color.
It's long overdue. I think there will be some backlash with some people that do not understand why they are doing this. I experienced things in the school board. My daughter's experienced some things, and it's tough. There's a lot of microaggressions within the school board. As simple as me sitting there watching how a principal addresses one kid over another is a big thing, because they're there to teach. They're there to take care of these students, and if they're treating other students differently, just walking within a classroom or a gymnasium and they treat them totally different, I sit back and you see it. And just something simple as that will affect the kids' mindset, because of them feeling if they're valued or not over another kid that might be a white kid or someone else, right? It's huge.
Earlier today, NDP leader Jagmeet Singh got tossed from the House of Commons. He called a Bloc Québécois MP a racist and refused to apologize.
I would ask the member from Burnaby South to apologize with respect to what he just said. I will not.
Pursuant to the authority granted to me by Standing Order 11, I order you withdrawn from the House for the remainder of this sitting day.
Singh was angered when a new Democrat motion on systemic racism in the RCMP failed to get unanimous consent from the Commons. Bloc MP Hélène Therrien would not support the motion. Singh refused to withdraw his remark, and the Speaker ordered him out for the day. An update to a story we brought you earlier this week about a girl in LaSalle who said that she was approached by a man who appeared to be a police officer. That happened Thursday afternoon. Police are saying they believe that the incident did not occur as reported. In a news release, officials say, quote, there is no evidence to support a public safety risk by an unknown person impersonating a police officer in the town of LaSalle. Police say that the case has been closed. The Prime Minister had some good news today for people who like to camp. 31 national parks, including Point Pelee, will open some campgrounds next week, but only for Canadians with existing reservations.
For a lot of people, no summer is complete without getting the tent packed, the kids in the car, and the time off to go camping. Now, because of the pandemic, many campgrounds had to close temporarily. But the good news is that as of Monday, Parks Canada will gradually start reopening some of their camping sites. No matter what you're planning this summer, whether it's camping or barbecues, keep following public health recommendations and keep doing your part to protect the people around you.
A Windsor couple may not get to spend their honeymoon in Paris, but that's not stopping them from giving it a try. They're using Instagram as a way to pretend that they're in the City of Lights while still being here in the City of Roses.
We were looking more forward to going to Paris than actually getting married. So I didn't want to feel like sad for 2 weeks. So I thought, let's just go anyways.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's supposed to be kind of a ridiculous, I don't know, the Ottawa Street.
Yeah, the Arc de Triomphe. Because it's we live in Old Walkerville, so that's like seriously 5 houses away from us. So yeah, most of the pictures are just extremely close to home.
And yeah, I don't know, it's a...
And I'm a graphic designer, that's my day job. And I was going to Photoshop us so it would actually look real, but then I thought maybe this is a little more fun and ridiculous. Because yeah, like our Airbnb is our daughter's playhouse in the backyard. Which is also funny because I think some of our friends must have not have seen all the pictures because we've had family and friends actually think we're in Paris. We were just at a social distance backyard party now that we were allowed to see 10 people at the same time just on Sunday. And a friend of ours, whose name I won't mention, he was like, I thought you guys were in Paris. And it's like, no. We have a lot of places we haven't been to yet. We're still going to the catacombs, the Louvre.
Père Lachaise Cemetery. What else is there?
We're renting some bikes and going for a bike ride.
Yeah, that's right. So maybe we'll have some what are they? The jambon sandwiches somewhere. Well, they seem to be enjoying it. I mean, people are laughing and they're happy because I guess it's a distraction at the same time. So, but I don't know. You gotta just make the best of the situation you're in and play with it.
I absolutely love that the Airbnb is that place that you saw there. Just so fun and beautiful. A live shot now from the Eiffel Tower of Windsor, our tower cam. We're going to go ahead and dub that tonight. Colette Kennedy has the full forecast coming up. Now, this right here is not something that you see every day. A dance with the dust devil. And it looks like there's a pair of them. Chatham-Kent's version of, well, it looks like the double rainbow. That smaller one is just behind it there. Chris Roy shared it on Twitter. We'll bring Clark Kennedy in here now. We're looking at this dust devil, the winds, everything kicking around. The weather phenomena that happen out in southwestern Ontario are so interesting to watch.
Yeah, well, I find seeing the twins, that's really interesting to me.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And you do see those, you know, in the daytime with the heating, and because they pick up some of that dust, and otherwise you wouldn't know they're there, but they pick up the dust, and they do share many properties with tornadoes, but of course not nearly as strong and not in terms of being dangerous as well. But to see two, I don't know if I've ever actually seen that. So very, very cool imagery there. All right, pretty cool to have these comfortable conditions. I mean, I know it's warm, but to just get the sunshine and have it repeating, we're in a really nice pattern here. Now, things are going to be changing up, and they're changing up very soon. But here you go, 28 degrees right now. Chatham-Kent, you're coming in 27 degrees. And Humidex, a little bit. It goes up a few degrees. That's about it in terms of it's still really comfortable, that Humidex at 30. We don't have anything to show you on the satellite and radar imagery. I can expand your view, and still you see how protected we are with that high pressure here over not just the lower Great Lakes, but over the Great Lakes as a whole. You see everything's being blocked and having to go around with that pattern. And it blocked such that there's rains continuing in areas of the Carolinas where they're getting into flooding, and they have been, because it's just sort of staying there and pounding the same regions. But some of that and the humidity associated with that is beginning to drift here towards Lake Erie. So as that's beginning to come our way, we're going to find the humidity going up along with our temperature going up a little bit as well. So watch as I roll this forward and we get into the forecast models of what's going to be happening. Now into Thursday, there is a slight chance of getting into some showers. I'm not putting it into my forecast because I do think it's going to stay to the south of us, so staying along the south shore of Lake Erie. But as we get into Friday, that's when, I know they're isolated, but that's when I think we will start to see some rain showers and some thunderstorms, not severe in nature, but starting to pop up. We get into that into Friday, and then as we go into Saturday and Sunday, each day, we see more and more of these beginning to pop up with that lake breeze. We're going to just be seeing that in the daytime heating. Tonight, your overnight temperatures right there in the mid-teens, 15 degrees, partly cloudy conditions. Tomorrow afternoon, 30, and again, you need your sunscreen, your sunblock there, you need your sunglasses, and you're certainly going to be looking into Friday and Saturday with the Humidex value getting up there towards the upper 30s, towards 40 as those temperatures are creeping up as well, Chris.
Wow, really taking a run into summer there, aren't we, Colette?
Yes, we are, and it becomes official on Saturday.
That's it. That's why we love those little graphics. We'll show you dust devils. You keep showing us those things.
Woo!
We like it.
Summer.
Thanks, Colette.
You're welcome.
Now, coming up next, Canada has lost its bid for a seat on the United Nations Security Council. We'll break that down after the break. A white police officer in Atlanta has been charged with 11 counts, including murder in the death of a 27-year-old black man. Richard Brooks was shot in the back twice on Friday night. Brooks had been questioned by police for more than 40 minutes when he grabbed an officer's taser and ran off. A lawyer for the Brooks family said that they weren't aware of details made public today as Garrett Rolfe was charged.
The shot happened after the deployment of the taser, where he started running again. That you would kick another human being after you just put 2 bullets in his back. But even in dark times like this, you have to try and see the light. And the positivity of this situation is the courageousness of Officer Brosnan to step forward and say what happened was wrong.
Officer Devin Brosnan has been cooperating with prosecutors. He's facing 3 charges, including aggravated assault. Canada has lost its bid for a 2-year seat on the United Nations Security Council. Our Foreign Affairs Minister cast this country's ballot earlier today. Norway and Ireland beat out Canada for the 2 available seats for Western nations on the Security Council. All 192 member states voted in a new process. In order to maintain physical distancing, time slots were assigned to cast ballots in the nearly empty General Assembly chamber. The Trudeau government has been campaigning for a spot on the UN's most powerful body for the past 4 years. Canada hasn't had a seat at the Security Council in 2 decades. The Harper government lost an earlier vote for a seat 10 years ago. After declaring victory against COVID-19 in March, officials in China are scrambling to contain a resurgence of the disease in Beijing. More than half the flights in and out of the Chinese capital have been canceled. Neighborhoods blocked off, schools closed, and a mass testing campaign is underway. The outbreak has been linked to the city's largest produce market. It's now closed and under police guard. Officials say 137 people who worked there or went there have tested positive. And now the race is on to reach more than 200,000 people that they may have come in contact with. It's 6:29 p.m. and that is it for CBC Windsor News. Before we go, we take you for one more trip through Paris, aka Windsor, Ontario. This couple spending their honeymoon in the Paris of sorts. Thanks again for watching. We have more details on all of these stories at cbc.ca/Windsor.